Hello, friends. I am not where I need to be in order to start this, but I said 5:45 and I'm already a few minutes late. So let's see if this might be bad. This might be a short stream. So what I'm doing right now um, is I was kind of testing an i3 setup that I did. Now I was hoping to actually have this complete by so that I could at least look like I knew what I was going to do. However, that didn't work out so well. So this is my test to see if this script is working. So far so good. So we'll talk about that soon. Okay. Low on volume. Let me see. How about now? I turned up the volume quite a bit. And maybe I just wasn't facing the microphone either. Yes. Yes. Okay, and let's do one. And let's get let's install a new browser. So we're going to do let's do Firefox latest, and let's keep both of them. Maybe a little closer. Let's see. Okay. That's about as close as I can get, unless I churn up some other thing. Hold on. Okay, I turn up the gain. I don't know if that helps a lot or what. Looks like I'm peeking out, so I don't know. Let's give it a shot. And I'm going to install, let's just install NeoVim real quick. And let's go back to 7. And I want to thank you. The volume good now. Thank you. Okay, so let me go back to 2. Let's skip this. I think FlameShot's already installed, so I'm going to skip that as well. Skip this. And let's go and install MPV here. Let's skip that, and I want to make sure I'm installing LibreOffice. I know that might take a little bit of time, but I'm also going to install Figlet. Oops, say yes. There we go. And that should work quickly. Okay, so I haven't really done a lot to answer your question about why iceWM. It's still being developed. For one, there is a 2025 update to the window manager. I haven't a lot of experience when it comes to the compositors for Wayland. I have tried Hyperland in the past and got it working on a Debian testing branch, but I had to pin it. But overall, I think that Hyperland's great. I'm not using it because I'm a Debian stable user. And apparently, the Debian Trixie, which is coming out fairly soon, is not going to include Hyperland. There was a package there to install it, but is now not being maintained. So I believe they took it out. And so it's not actually part of Trixie at current. Hold on a second. I got to go get the dog. All right, sorry, back now. Let's go ahead and reboot. Yes. So this is my first try at this new setup script for i3. Now, I'm going to use i3 as my test, but I'm also going to test iceWM and Fluxbox. Now, Fluxbox is something that I've come to appreciate more. iceWM, you know, it's okay. It's okay. Okay, well, that's good so far. So we're able to... There we go. Okay, so that install script worked, at least from what I can tell. So I just hit my Super H, which is a script that tells you what the keybinds are for i3. Yeah, I like both OpenBox, Fluxbox a little bit better than I like iceWM, but that doesn't deter me from wanting to actually do a config. And we'll take a look at it once we get to that point. So let's, and I can install that so you can actually take a look at OpenBox at the same time, at least my version of OpenBox. So let's go ahead and let's open up a terminal. And we're going to go into the i3. Actually, let's go into, yeah, let's do that. i3 setup. Okay. And so let's look at the installer real quick. So let's V into the install, SH. Okay. Okay. All right, so here's my version of this install script for i3 setup. Now, when I get to a couple spots, let's talk a little bit more. Now, what I've done here is basically say, hey, Zoe, I basically said, okay, so if you're an Arch user, these are the packages. Now, I can't verify that these are all the packages that you need in order to get this i3 setup to work. But I also did one for Fedora. Okay. I can't I can't be all things to all people on this script. So I am, without question, you know, the script is designed for a Debian stable user. So, but when we get to the packages, you'll see that there are sections of packages. So packages core here to install, and then Polybar, Rofi, Dunst, etc. Their Thunar is the file manager, and I like to include these packages in specific for Thunar, ripgrep, fdfind. Now, I've been thinking about actually adding FZF to this group as well, because I'm starting to use FZF more. If you are an FZF user, kudos, because I think it's a stinking powerful thing to be using. Audio packages, utilities, including Flameshot and Nala, and suckless tools simply for Let me think. What else? What? Okay, so I can't remember exactly what Suckless Tools has besides dmenu, but dmenu is the main thing that I'm using for this. Now I'm getting also these fonts and these build packages, okay? And it goes through and installs all those. I've added this as well, so that if you are looking to install Firefox ESR, it will do that. Otherwise, like if you're using a Ubuntu, it's going to fail. So I'm trying to make sure that it doesn't fail if you're trying this with Ubuntu. And because of that, I've put in this portion of it for Ubuntu or those types of users. It could be Linux Mint or what have you, but anything that's going to use the Ubuntu repos. Okay, same thing here. Whereas Debian 12, oops, let me go put there. Debian 12 is using EXA, whereas most distributions are using EZA because EXA is kind of like gone by the wayside. EZA is the newer build for that. So if it fails with EXA, it's going to if it fails with EXA rather, it's going to install EZA, which is what that portion of the script is doing. It's asking you if you have a configuration already, and if you want to back it up. And then it's going to do a few more things. Let's get down here. Okay. This section here, I'm able to kind of like repeat it over a number of different window managers. So what it's doing is it's finding this Butterscripts directory. Oh, sorry, this Butterscripts project at GitHub. Okay. And it's installing these things one at a time. So it's going and finding the Butterscripts setup script for PyCom. And then it's installing WesTerm, and then it's installing ST, and then the nerd fonts, themes, as well as I kind of liked this idea. I decided that I was going to just set up a kind of a wallpaper repo so that I don't have to like continue to just add wallpapers across multiple projects. I just use one wallpaper project at my Butterscripts GitHub, and that seems to work really well. Then it installs what you saw was that it asks you which display manager to use. I just call it install LightDM. That doesn't mean you have to install LightDM. Wouldn't it fail? You grep the LSB. Yeah. This was the easy way to do it. It's asking you whether you want to put my bash RC. Then it goes and gets it. Again, this optional tools thing, I went through and installed Firefox and a few other things. And that's it. And it ends up with, hey, log out or reboot, and then super H for key bindings. Okay, so that's pretty much it. So let's go and just open up a couple, basically you're opening up a couple windows. i3 has some really cool features. And let me go ahead and actually open this back up again. I'm trying to remember if I set it up for a super... Yeah. So tabbed and stacking. I did it. I did set it up for super S, super W, and super T. Okay. So like, let's just say super S. Okay. So if I hit super S, it's going to stack all of these. Now, again, if I say super up, it should, there's no way. Let me go back to super T. That way we can say, we can actually determine which is which. So Figlet A, Figlet B, and Figlet C. That way everyone knows which version is which. Okay, so let's go back to Super S. Okay, and so you've got the C. So everything is kind of stacked. So if I go Super and an up arrow, it's changing it to the next window, which is Super B. Same thing with A. And then so you can basically tab through these really quickly by using the Super key and keep everything at full screen if you decide to do that. Okay. The other one is so Super T is to move everything back, and then let me see, I can't remember. Super W is tabbed. Okay, let me make sure. I couldn't remember how I did that, but it's because I did this very recently. Okay, I added this tabbing and feature. So same thing here. You know, you can actually click on this if you choose to, because those clicks will work. But if you just go Super and then use the arrow keys, you're able to go from one window to another. It just happens that I'm using the terminal, but if I did, like, let's just say Super F, which is Thunar, you'll be able to see that I'm able to go through all of these just by using Super and then right or left arrow keys. Okay, so let's go ahead, Super Q to close, Super Q to close, and there you go. We're back to an open, screen. Super Spacebar is Rofi. It's going to, show everything that's installed. Same thing if, if you've seen any of my other videos before or have been using any of my, if you've been using any of my scripts or configurations, if you use Super Insert or Super Delete, you're going to be changing the volume. Okay. On this one also, I've decided to basically keep tags or workspaces are hidden that don't actually have any window active on it. So like if I just switch to 2 and then opened up that, go back to 1, you'll see, and then let's open up Thunar, for example, you'll see that there are only two workspaces that are, showing. Let me see. If you want to move, obviously it's a Super Shift and let's say 3. And so Super 3, and then you're going to go to a different workspace that actually has an active window. Let's go back to Super 1, and we're back to the clear screen. Okay, so I go really quickly here when I'm kind of like nervous about what's going to happen next. Let's open up a browser, okay? And let's skip. Okay, let's just go ahead and close this, and let's go to github.com/DrewGriff. Okay. Now, this is my GitHub. I've only pinned a few things. I can't pin everything, you know what I'm saying? But I'm probably going to unpin this bookworm scripts. That's the one that has, which is a shame, frankly, because if I go to this bookworm scripts, this is the one I've been using for a long time. I don't know when my first foray, okay, so it says June 28th, so it's over a year. Okay. So it's over a year, which is why I'm probably going to remove it. But I have to say, it's been forked 36 times and it's got 179 stars, which makes me feel really good about this particular project. But overall, I'm thinking it's not nearly as complete as some of the things that I've been working on. And frankly, I had to kind of like think, okay, well, not everyone is going to be installing all these window managers. Okay, so I've been thinking about simply going and, leaving individual window managers on their own project. And so I've been trying to make things more modular, which is why I set up the script the way I did with, with the top part of the script just being specific to the window manager. And in this case, i3. And then the bottom part where it's actually pulling from the Butterscripts project at GitHub. So it's installing PyCom and WesTerm and some of the other things, including nerd fonts and themes to make it look nice too. So that's the reason for maybe just kind of like going to, because if you want to get i3, you shouldn't have to install the entire thing. I think this is a much better and cleaner way to do this particular, what I'm doing here. Okay, so let's go back. And, I shouldn't have done it that way, huh? Let's go to i3 setup. And let's go here and repos. So these are the ones that I've just finished kind of updating today, which is iceWM and Fluxbox. Okay. So it's not tested at all. So I'm curious as to if it's going to work. So might as well just go do the top one first, and that's Fluxbox. Now, if you have used Fluxbox in the past, or if you are an MX Linux user, MX is known for their XFCE desktop, but they also have a Fluxbox version. So I don't know what I try not to look at other people's stuff because I don't want there to be like, I don't want to copy. Let's put it that way. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to copy somebody else's stuff. So, so let's go to github.com/Fluxbox setup. Okay. So it should be very easy. Let's go into Fluxbox. Actually, you know what? Let's just do it this way. All right, ls, and then, so we're going to install Fluxbox next. Are the themes that you're installing being pulled from Debian or GitHub? GitHub. Yeah, I mean, there are a couple good themes from Debian. I like what I like. So I kind of like use, and I think I actually, let me go back over here just to answer the question. I think, yeah. Right here, I give credit to the developer of this theme. The GTK theme is called Orcus, and the icon theme is called Colloid, and it is at this guy's GitHub repo. So yeah. So I'm going to go back over here, install, and let's do it. There's one thing that I really want to make sure works. Okay, this is interesting. This is not what I was prepared for. Okay, because there is something called FB menu that will happen after, basically will happen after the, you know what, I'm getting a little bit scattered, but so the script will get to the optional tools portion, okay? And once the optional tools portion is complete, it will then, it will attempt to install something called FB menu generator. Okay, so the FB menu generator should be installed so that it gives you a up-to-date menu for Fluxbox. Okay, so I don't need this, and I really don't need this. Okay, it did the install. It's actually doing the install right now. Whether it works or not remains to be seen. Okay, so this was a part that I had not tested at all. Okay, well, it does say that to generate the new, I'm hoping that it did generate, but let's go ahead and Control Shift Q to leave i3. Okay. Hey, Dubs. How you doing, buddy? All right, so Fluxbox is installed. I don't think I'm going to need to reboot. So let's just see. Okay. All right, so let's make sure. So what I was saying before is if I right click, it should have generated this menu, and it should have generated it differently than it did. Okay. All right, well, this is going to be something, let's say FG generate. And let's see. Yeah. Advanced and refresh cache. Yeah. Okay, so what's going to happen is I'm going to have to work on this portion of this this part of the script. Everything else should work really seamlessly, but the truth of the matter is, I know for a fact that, and you all know for a fact that we installed LibreOffice, and so for LibreOffice to not be part of this group is wrong. So that's something that I need to like work on and fix. There's no way that this should have been, that it should be omitted from this, Okay, so maybe I need to change that FB menu script. In fact, let's look real quick. Okay, I'm just gonna go to the dot. No, it's not going to be there. So Fluxbox setup scripts. No, it's going to be part of the dot Fluxbox scripts. Yep, ls. And then let's go into this FB menu gen.sh. Sorry, this is me doing a little bit of. Bug fixing. Sorry, I'm thinking and trying to do a stream at the same time. So build. Okay. All right. Well, I'll fix this later. It should have. So if I'm just curious, if I hit FB menu gen specify option. Okay. -G. Okay. So if I do that. Okay. There you go. So, okay, guys, thank you for doing that with me. So if I go to Office, these LibreCalc things should have been there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to be a -G at the end of the script, and I think that would work. I think that's all that would need to be done in order for this to work. But I will test this. So let me write this down real quick. So if I do FB menu, sorry, you can hear me like writing down something. Menu gen -G, then we can, then that would work right here. So I'm not going to change it right now because I have to, this is not the machine that I use. This is my test machine. And so it's not the machine that I use to update my GitHub repo. Regardless, thank you. Thank you for taking the time. Okay, so with this also, let me go ahead and close this. And Super H. Oh, okay. Well, that's another failure. All right. So Super H does not do what I think it's supposed to do. So, okay, what it's supposed to do is super H is genuinely a parsing script. Okay, so what it's doing is, let's go ahead and like open up and let's view hidden files. Okay, and so everything is in this .fluxbox directory. So it's a hidden. Your configuration for Fluxbox is in your home user directory, but it is a hidden directory called .fluxbox. Okay. So you also see that this menu, let's go ahead. Oh, wow, that's terrible. Let's do it this way. Yeah, I'm not going to do it that way. All right, so I need to change. It's just a lot of things to change here, guys. Sorry. So default terminal needs changing. So let's actually just open up a new terminal and go into cd into .fluxbox, and then let's ls. Okay, let's go ahead and make this big. So if we're looking at the menu, so let's v menu. Okay, you'll see that this is now changed quite a bit in terms of where, this is what this is not what it looked like before we ran that FB menu generator. This was something completely different. It's probably now the backup file. So this is the more up to date. So you'll see also that there is 2 different Firefoxes, including the one that is the nightly version and then the Debian ESR version. So there, you can definitely see that there are differences to this. Let me go ahead and close this though. And let's go into .scripts. Okay. So what I'm talking about is this Fluxbox help right here. And what it's supposed to do, so this help actually right here is irrelevant. This shouldn't even be there. Okay. But this Fluxbox help, what it's doing is it's parsing the keys file. Okay. So let's go in or let's just say v into Fluxbox help. Okay. And what it's doing is it's using awk, and then it's supposed to be, Fluxbox keys. I was thinking maybe it was wrong, but no, this is right. And then it says it's using the right theme. So it must be part of the parsing might be an issue. Okay, so what it's doing is, and let me go ahead and open up another window. All right. And let's go into .fluxbox, and let's v into keys. Okay. So what it's supposed to do is look at all of these, all of this, the key bindings for Fluxbox, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Hey, Nate. And War Thunder. Awesome. Yeah. So thanks, Zoe. Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to do to allow the GUI mimbles. Yeah, absolutely. So what this is doing, so what the script is supposed to do is pull out and parse all of this stuff so that you can see it in Rofi. So mod 4 will get changed to super, and then you'll say equal, or mod shift Q, which is basically shift, super, and Q will exit Fluxbox. Super, shift, and R will restart Fluxbox. So you'll see things like if I do super shift R right now, it just restarted Fluxbox. Now, let's go ahead back. I'm not sure why, but this is not something I am definitely going to do right now. So if I hit super and H, the key bindings parse is just not working correctly. Now the i3 one that we just went through definitely worked. You were able to see that. So it's just something, I don't know, twitchy. That might, and it's not going to take, it's going to take me more than like a few minutes in order for me to like figure out what the issue is. And I'm curious because it should be very similar to iceWM. Regardless, there is something called FB Pager, Fluxbox Pager, okay? And what that does is it's basically a toggle so that you can see if there is an application open on a workspace. So you'll see like this is workspace 2, and you'll see right here the development, okay? Down here, this would be called workspace 2. I just named these. You can always change this. So files, and you can see that this one now is highlighted, but files is a new, or let's just call it workspace 3. Editor, workspace 4, and we can go down the line. And if I decide to, I can just go click, and it goes to the OBS Studio. It goes to the OBS Studio workspace. Now, it doesn't mean, again, you can change these to anything that you want, okay? Hey, thanks. Thanks very much, A&M. So if I go back to workspace 1, I'm just going to click on it, okay? You'll see that the pager, this box, basically is showing that, see you later, Nate. This box is basically showing that there is an active window in workspace 1. So if I click on workspace 2 and I just like open it, okay, you'll see that there is a box or a window open in workspace 2. So that way you can kind of keep track. Oh, wow. Look, I've got 2 things open on 2 different workspaces. But if you don't want that, you just hit Super P again, and it removes it as basically as a toggle in order for you to say, yep, I want that, or nope, I don't, okay? The other thing is you can click on certain things in the bar below, and you'll see that I'm on workspace 1, which is called web. If I go to bash over here, it actually changed the workspace, and I'm back on, let's just call it workspace 2, okay? So let's go ahead and toggle it back on. The one thing that Fluxbox does not do is I wish it would do. This would actually be a feature that is not part of the window manager. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to drag this across, and you'll see that it did highlight that I'm in workspace 3, or the files workspace. But what it didn't do was it did not keep that kind of like rectangle where it would show. But if I go Super P and then Super P again, it does. You know what I'm saying? So I toggle it off, then toggle back on, and then that shadow within the within that workspace is back to where it was. But I can't drag it and it show up in the FB pager. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but that's just the way it is. Okay, so let's just go ahead and say Super P, and let's say super left arrow, right arrow rather, and then left arrow. It's basically allowing you to move things around using, if you have a more keyboard centric workflow, then you can definitely move things around. And again, this is just super right and left. And if I say super up, it's going to make it full screen. If I say super down, it will make it, I think this is a 75% in the config. So if I say super down, it's just going to say, okay, I'm center it 75% in the middle of the screen, okay? If I say super shift 2, it actually moved it over. So now if I say super 2, you'll be able to find it on workspace 2, which is the development workspace. Sorry if this is kind of scattered, but this is just the way my mind works. You know what I'm saying? So So it's easy to move things around. The other thing is if like you want to you just close it, it's super Q. Okay, so it just removes it. Super 1. Let's go back over to workspace 1. I actually like I like Fluxbox quite a bit actually. I think it's very good for a floating window manager. That doesn't mean that I don't appreciate other floating window managers, as we've talked about, especially at the beginning of if you weren't here, I talked a little bit about OpenBox and how I thought it was, like, to me, kind of like the gold standard when it comes to floating window managers. And we can go ahead and install that just so you can get a look at that as well. But we definitely need to get iceWM on here real quick. So let's hey, Leviticus. So I'm going to say git clone. Oh, wait. So default terminal was one thing that I had to, and then the super H. I forgot to write down the 2 bugs that I need. So basically the parser for the help script, or Fluxbox help, did not work correctly. So I'm going to have to fix that. Okay, so let's go to iceWM setup. Okay, let's go ahead and clear the screen and CD into iceWM. And now let's install that. And say yes. Now there shouldn't be a whole lot because there's such similarities between, I wouldn't say there's a lot of similarities, but there's definitely similarities between iceWM and Fluxbox. Both of them have their own configuration outside of the .config. But both of them are like, one's in the user .fluxbox and iceWM is in .iceWM. So both of them, similar in their location for config files. Okay, no, and no. And so let's go ahead and super shift Q just so that we leave Fluxbox. And it should be easy to get to this. Okay. Now again, iceWM is different in that it uses a theme more than other I don't know how to describe this, but let me just show you. Okay, so first of all, I want to try the Super H. Okay, Super H on iceWM is working. All right. Let's go ahead and say super space. Okay, so what, super space is doing that I didn't think that I had. I thought I was going to see the XFCE4 application finder, but this is fine. This is fine. Actually, I should have checked the application finder for Fluxbox. In fact, let's do that real quick. Let me just go ahead and close this. I just want to make sure. Let me log out. Okay, sorry. It's something I just want to make sure that I do before I forget. Okay, super space. Okay, no super space. That's another bug for Fluxbox. Super plus space. That doesn't mean that you can't get to where you need to go. All I'm saying is super. So if you right click anywhere on Fluxbox, it follows you around. So if let's just say you open up something, okay, and then you go, oh, let me click over here and I want to open up, I don't know, it doesn't even matter. Let's say, yeah, let's say QIMGV. There we go. It doesn't matter, So you can get to wherever really easily. Okay, yeah. All right, so let me go ahead and let's close this back. I need to fix a couple things over there. Let's go back to iceWM. I did spend probably more time on iceWM than I did on Fluxbox. And the reason why is this. Let me go ahead and open up iceWM themes. I used to use this iceWM Nord theme, okay? Now what that does is it basically shows up in these, in the minimize, in basically this status bar, okay? Plus, it helps out, or it basically controls what you have going on in the bar. So both Fluxbox and iceWM have their own bar that you need to configure. So I'm using this FTX dark a little bit more and including the task bar. And it's using this start XPM over here. But overall, I would say, and then again, also just quick note. By default, the background image for iceWM is usually located in the themes director, or the themes that you're choosing, which is FTX dark. Okay, so this default, okay, the is what you're seeing as a wallpaper. Okay, so that's, again, this is not my jam when it comes to, but I recognize how useful it can be, especially when you're talking about older machines that need a, well, they need something a little bit more sparse, I guess is the best way. And you don't want like a full desktop environment. These window managers that are stacking, or floating window managers, can really behave like an XFCE or an LXQT or what have you. I would choose to use these over GNOME or KDE. Just again, my preference. And we'll get to, I'll open up my open box so that you can take a look at that as well, because somebody said something about, I can't remember whose open box they said, but they were impressed by it. I think that if you are, again, if I thought that open box would be my choice. Let's put it that way. Yes. Listen to War Thunder, man. Okay, so what am I doing? So Super H, I talked about. Okay, it's basically parsing out that keys. Okay, so let me just close that. Go back over to iceWM, and this is the NeoVim. Oh man, this is another thing. All right, let's go ahead and open this, and then let's go into .icewm, and let's v into keys. There we go. All right, so I like the key config much better for iceWM. As you can tell, this reads a lot better than the keys config for Fluxbox. Okay, so this iceWM has one up definitely on Fluxbox when it comes to this, because this is really stinking good when it comes to how to configure your keybinds. Okay. And so basically it's really easy to parse this and give it, and when you say Super H, goofy, not Super F, Super H, it should show everything that, it should show everything that is located in this keys directory, or keys file rather, okay? Yeah, Genie, Firefox, Wes, Term, GIMP. Yep. Okay. Super V, code. Some of these were going to be blank because those weren't installed clearly. Okay. But again, super insert. Super delete, you're changing your volume. Same thing. Okay. Yeah, super Q is to close. And so, yeah, again, by the way, you're also able to see like that kind of like box that we talked about in Fluxbox, where you can, this is a little bit nicer in the sense that if I move things over, now you can't like drag it to a different workspace in this window manager, but if you say Super Shift 3, for example, automatically it moved it to workspace 3. So if I say workspace 2, it's going to be blank, but if I go back to 3 and then say Super Shift 2, it moved it without, like, you couldn't even tell that it moved because it did so without really any feedback. There would be no feedback for that. Sometimes what I've thought about doing is like what I used to do with, I think it was XFWM. So you can basically create your own window manager around XFWM, which is the XFCE window manager. And in order to get feedback, you just say you have a workspace script so that when you change workspaces, there will be a dunst notification that will show up in the corner and said, hey, you moved this to workspace 3. So let me go over to workspace 3 and let's open up a Firefox. Let's not do that. And let's say iceWM. Okay. And let's go over here. And what you're seeing here, guys, the latest released version of iceWM 3.8.0 is 3 weeks ago. So still a maintained window manager for Xorg. Okay. So I love the fact that people are still working on Xorg window managers. Not everybody can say that, you know. We all know how much I love BSPWM, but it's been feature complete for years. I mean, and there's been barely any type of updates to it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm sorry, I was reading the chat. So anyway, you know, you've got DWM still being worked on. You've got things like iceWM still being worked on. And so those are really good. I don't even know if Fluxbox is still being worked on. That's a good question. Let's go take a look. Features, downloads, GitHub. Let's look at GitHub. Two months ago. You know, okay, so Larry, I didn't know that iceWM was part of MX Linux. I know Fluxbox is, but the one guy that I know has a distro that uses iceWM is that Antix or Anti-X or whatever it is. That distro definitely uses iceWM as its either feature or secondary window manager, I believe. So I think it's Antix is the one that uses iceWM more than, I think that's what they're known for. Let's put it that way. But I don't, you know, I could be wrong, very wrong about that. OpenBox definitely feature complete, dude. Very, very good point. Okay. So let's I like I said, this is going to be like an hour. So I'm a little bit up against the clock, but that's okay. So let's go and let's do a clone of github.com/Drew/openbox setup. Just so that I can kind of compare all the, I've done 3 floating window managers, OpenBox, Fluxbox, and iceWM, so we can kind of see them side by side. What am I doing? OpenBox. All right, so we're doing a quick install of OpenBox. Thank you, my friend. You know what? That's actually that's something I just saw. OpenBox. Is it weird that I do like an entire stream and have like a half page or almost a full page of notes in things to fix? Tilix is being installed by default. I don't know if it should. Okay. Strange. It's like, hey, you got a failure. Oh, no, got another failure. It's actually not a failure. It's just a little bit of a hiccup, right? No. And no. And so, OpenBox, right click, blah, 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 super space. Yep. Okay, so let's go ahead and super shift Q. Hopefully that works. Oh, actually it doesn't work because I'm using logout. All right. All right, so we've got Fluxbox, iceWM, OpenBox, and i3, and we've installed all 4 of these in the last hour. So let's go ahead and take a look at the last one, which is OpenBox. Okay, so this is my OpenBox. It is using a polybar as opposed to a Tint 2 panel. You're seeing basically just common feedback up here in the corner on the polybar. I did put in basically a way to click and open up a app finder. This is using the XFCE4 app finder. So if I just say Firefox, for example, you know, it's going to go, by the way, there are 2 Firefox installed. That's why they're showing up twice. So this one is the newer version. Okay. Okay, so there we have this OpenBox config. Let me go ahead and close this, or let me just go to a different workspace. There we go. So they're not just, if you click on this, which is basically a left click, you're going to find the app finder. But if you are anywhere and you just say, oh, let me right click, you're going to find a menu, a right click menu as well for OpenBox. So same thing, if you go to terminal, it's going to open up the WesTerm terminal. There is a theme associated with this application status bar. And so you can actually modify this. So let's say let's just say you're a Mac OS user and you just say, hey man, why are always these on the right side? I want them on the left side. You can actually, in OpenBox, change the location of these to the left. I'm not going to do it, but I'm just saying you can switch things up so that they show up where you are accustomed to finding them. Same thing. So if I go back over here, go back over to OpenBox, which is right here. So you know, this is my OpenBox setup at GitHub. You can find out a lot of the stuff. You can find a lot of this stuff just by looking at the documentation for the project that I'm working on. There's not a lot to it, so I don't like inundate you with like tons and tons, but I think the critical things like how to install it, what's being used, you know, keybinds, certain keybinds, and so on and so forth, and how the configuration is structured. Those are the things that I think are important. So that's what is part of this README file. Is your version of PyCon giving you the rounded OpenBox menu? Yes. In fact, it's basically, you know, so as part of this, actually, you're going to see that, where is it? All right, here. You know what? I should have a link here, actually, because the PyCom that I'm using is the FT Labs version of PyCom, and I should definitely give them some love when it comes right down to it. It's a fantastic fork of PyCom. So let me say that that if you have questions, now is the time to throw them in the chat, and I will attempt to answer them if I can. So no, no, there is a very strong possibility that I can't answer anything, but overall, we'll give it a shot. So let me go ahead and close this. Say Super H, same thing. So I'm really trying to get this Super H thing consistent across like all of the window managers that I'm using, especially because if you are a new, if you're a newer user or you're someone who is trying to, if you're someone that's trying to move to a window manager, whether it be a floater or a tiling window manager, it should be kind of easy to say, oh, I don't know how to do that. And if you do make a change, I wanted it to be very common in order for you to find, so that the change can get updated to that help script so that it's parsing something that has been, if it parses something that's been changed, it will reflect in the Rofi key bindings. I don't know, I just said that and it didn't make sense to me either. But so this OpenBox thing, I mean, since I don't have any questions right this second, this OpenBox helper script was a beast. Let me actually show you what I'm talking about. So, config OpenBox menu. OpenBox. Let me go and say, oh, I hate when it does this. RC XML. All right, let's go open this up. Let's make this bigger and say cd into .config OpenBox. And let's v into rc.xml. Hey, Matt. How you doing, buddy? So this is the hardest thing. When you are, and I've been attempting to show you that section right here. So under keyboard, when you're using OpenBox, there's a whole section under keyboard that describes what key bindings you are using for specific actions. Okay. So in order for you to create a help script, it actually has to parse XML. And I've talked about this before, but parsing XML when you're using Bash primarily is an incredibly challenging thing to do. So the solution is, let's go and let me move this over to 3. So the solution is to use Python and actually do it inside a bash script. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So config OpenBox, and let's ls and c into the scripts ls. And so the help, let me just show you v in the help. Okay. What PETA? I don't know what that means, but all right. Okay, so basically, this is a bash script, but it is using this portion of Python in order to parse the XML. And what it does is it puts it into a cache or keyboard list, and then that is what you are seeing when I use Super H. Okay. So basically what it does is it goes through that entire keybind section, and then, it parses the XML through the bash script, but is using Python to do it. That sounds horrible, but it took me stinking forever to figure that out. Okay. You know what I'm saying? No, I'm not on Gen Z. Gen Z lingo. What does that mean? I don't even know what that means, dude. All right. So it didn't take, it wasn't like a long script, but it was a pain in the butt. So I guess it's 75 lines of code in order to accomplish this, this XML parsing. But overall, pain in the butt. So let's go back over to 2. And actually, we don't even need this either. So okay, so I'm going to hit Super Shift Q, and I am going to exit out of OpenBox. Okay. So takeaways, guys, takeaways. Fluxbox, I have to work on a little bit. Okay, so the Fluxbox installer worked perfectly. It's not the actual Fluxbox or the installer that needed fixing. It was the configuration file and the help script that needed fixing. The iceWM, which is what we're going to go back to. The iceWM is easy to use. The formatting for the iceWM has to actually, if you're going to do anything, find a really good theme, which is challenging to do. Okay, again, I'm using something called .iceWM themes. I'm using something called FTX Dark. Okay, I was using iceWM Nord style, but I'm using FTX Dark. I definitely did some changing when it comes to the taskbar, okay? But overall, so I moved, for example, I moved the taskbar, which is normally on the on the bottom rather, to the top. I made sure that there are 6 workspaces as opposed to sometimes you see, I don't know, less than that. You have the ability to move things around by super left arrow, so I was right, super left, down, up, and if you go super shift space, it's going to move the window to float to the center. Okay. And then you can resize, obviously, if you hit the super, you're going to see that it opens up the start menu over here. If you right click, it'll open up the application finder wherever, much like OpenBox, much like Fluxbox. They all have like kind of right click menus. Okay. So those are really good. Again, you can always say Super Shift 2, and it definitely changed the workspace, as well as showed you that the application has now moved to workspace 2 by looking up here and kind of like seeing the preview. Okay. So that is it. So we've done basically 4 window managers. Let me go back just so that you guys can look at for those of you that came late, iceWM, Fluxbox, OpenBox was kind of like, the OpenBox was kind of like an outlier, but we definitely did an i3 right at the beginning. Okay. So the i3 is using Polybar, Super H. Super H is the helper, again, parsing the i3 keys so that you can see what the keybinds are for this version or for this configuration rather of i3. If you are opening things up, it's going to give you that. It's going to give you that. It's going to give you that kind of like vertical tiling If you use super and then W, it's going to give you the tabs. So you can tab between things if you use super P. It's not P, super T is back to normal. P, so super H. I always forget the third one. I forget it because I only use tiling. Super S for stacking. That's what I was looking for. So for super S for stacking, and then you can see that they're stacked one on top of the other. So you can switch between these or just say super up and or down. I know that it doesn't see, but if you look at the time, it changes. Okay. Okay. So just a quick, so super T back to tile mode. Okay. So there's a lot of things I like about i3. I don't know why I don't like it as much as some of the other window managers out there. It's really stinking good and still being worked on. So that's something that is on me. But I appreciate all of you who have been watching and hope that you have a blessed rest of your Sunday. I'm over time a little bit. I said that I was going to be 1 hour. It is now almost 7 o'clock Eastern time, and that is 1 hour and 15 minutes. For me, there is 33 concurrent users watching this video, or this stream rather. But let me thank you again for all of you that have been joining me, and I will see you all very soon.